Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to this week's episode of Monday Motivation. Let me just pull this camera forward a little bit. That's better. Just frame that. How are you doing this morning? Well, this morning, I thought I would self-indulge a little bit because this week is my birthday week. And with it being my birthday week, I've been doing a lot of reflection back, not just only on my last year, but on my life. So thank you for joining me. I can see you hopping on and sending your messages. Thank you so much for joining me. And today I thought I would share a little something with you, almost like kind of what does Jenny do when? So as you'll know, this show is all about motivation and motivation on a Monday. And I was thinking back to, I'm trying to remember exactly when it was. I believe it was 2014. 2014, so 5 years ago. And I woke up and I was having one of those days. In fact, I was probably having one of those weeks. A few days had gone by, I was feeling quite stressed and I needed to look at a specific situation. But every time I thought about it or tried to tackle it, I just felt really, really stressed out. And there was one morning, I was actually staying at a friend's house. I remember this well. I was house sitting and I woke up one morning with a tune going around in my head. Not very unusual for me. And as I was, we've got some comments on there. Good morning. I think we've got Alan joining us. Morning, Alan. Morning, Ivona. And I woke up and went about my day in the best way that I could, feeling still slightly stressed, but, thinking, well, this situation's been going for a while. I'm a life coach and I've got all these tools to my disposal. I had a couple of coaches I was working with at the time and I can speak to them and see if they can put a different perspective on it. Anyway, any of you that know anything about me and the things that I like, you'll know that I really love Hay House. I love the work of Louise Hay. I love a lot of the books that a lot of the Hay House authors have published. And I also love listening to Hay House Radio. So for those of you that are like, I like Hay House too, and you can listen to the radio. Yeah, they've got a radio station. So I remember I'd gone through this day and I was still quite stressed out and overthinking stuff and feeling in need of some sort of motivation. And I remember very, very well, speaking of Hay House, I noticed a Hay House author is actually watching this now. So how synchronistic is this? So I remember getting into the evening and thinking, okay, I've been doing a lot of work today, not very effectively because I was so kind of stressed out and so in my head, and thinking, you know what, I'm going to go to a place that I enjoy to be, and that's Hay House. And just before I went on there, I thought, gosh, if I could speak to any of the Hay House authors about this situation, I would love to speak to Wayne Dyer. I thought about it, I kind of put it out there, didn't really think too much more about it as I logged in and listened to Hay House Radio. And guess what? Just as I logged in, the next show coming up was, of course, with Wayne Dyer. And it was not just a show with Wayne Dyer, but it was a live show where we could call in. I'm getting the comments. Morning, says Julia Bernard Thompson. Morning, Mrs. TEDx person. So I logged in. I thought, this is great. Wayne Dyer shows on. I love listening to Wayne Dyer. I like his philosophies. And I can, it's a live show, so perhaps I can call in. I thought to myself, this stressful situation, I've been saying to myself, if I could speak to anyone about it, have you ever done that? Have you ever had that moment where you just thought to yourself, gosh, this situation, what would insert name of person do? If you have, give me a thumbs up or a love heart. What would so-and-so do? So it's not very often that you think, well, what would Wayne Dyer do? and you tune into Hay House Radio, and he happens to be on a live show. So guess what I did? I dialed in. So it was a very strange sequence of events, and I mean strange in a good way, very synchronistic sequence of events. So I phoned in, and the only way I can describe it was I phoned in, and I'd phoned in before, and sometimes you get through to the operator and they ask you what your question is, and they get you, they put you on hold and you can listen to the show. And I've done this a number of times. There's a couple of different Hay House authors that I've wanted to ask a question to or speak to, and they put you on hold. And a couple of times before, I'd actually experienced being put on hold, but they didn't get around to my question, which was fine. But this time, the moment that they answered the phone and said, took my question and said, we'll put you on hold, I had this massive sensation, almost like a knot in my stomach, and I just knew that I was going to be able to get through and speak to Wayne Dyer. Anyway, so a longer story cut short, there was this moment, I was talking about this with a friend recently, but there was this moment where they said, okay, we're going to go to our next caller, it's... and it'd be like, George from Washington. I was like, anyway, a few calls in. So our next caller's calling from London, England. It's Jenny. And it's quite funny because every now and then they'll replay that episode, and the first thing you hear is me go, like this. Oh my gosh, they've got through. And I asked my question. So I am going to tell you a little bit more about what happened from that point, but I have seen lots of comments going through, so I just want to go back and acknowledge your comments because I never like to ignore you. Good morning to all of you that are joining, and so let's have a look. So Alan's first on, he says, good morning, Jenny. I assume you've been out training this morning for your London Marathon. No, not actually this morning, but I have been out training. I feel like I'm impatient, Alan. My progress feels slower than I'd like it to be, but you know what? It is what it is. But no, not this morning. But I have been on client calls already this morning, and speaking to a friend overseas who didn't seem too happy. So, yes. I've also been playing about with the filter. Just, Alan's probably thinking, 7 o'clock? Where is she? I was playing around with the filter because I'm going to show you something in a minute, and I didn't want this mirror image thing, but for some reason the mirror image flipping the screen just didn't work this morning. So I'm going to have to show you what I need to show you mirror image. So sorry for the faffing around and the couple of minutes delay. So yes, I know it's getting close now. By the way, Alan, I have applied for the London Marathon. I won't hear until October whether I get in or not, but I have a contingency plan in place. Whether I get in or whether I don't through the ballot, I do have a contingency plan in place, so don't worry. So whether I go through or not, I will still continue the training. So yes. Ivona says, morning Jenny, morning all, good morning. Alan says, good morning to Ivona. Julia, I saw yours flash through. Julia did a phenomenal talk at the weekend, like one that I've known Julia for a bit, and we started off as networking buddies, people from afar. She did the most authentically, amazingly real thing, but you're going to have to wait until you see it. That's all I can say. Ian says, hey up, morning Jenny, and morning to everyone else listening. Oh, Alison says, that's exactly the point when I tuned in, Jenny, just as you started talking about Hay House. Gosh, how synchronistic is that, Alison? And if you don't know, I'm going to give Alison a shout out. Alison has written an amazing book, which has been published by Hay House, all around her journey and helping other people to navigate the journey of breast cancer as well. It's an amazing book. So if you or someone you know is going through that quite difficult process, then do have a look for Alison's book. Alison, just type the name of the book, or if you've got a link to how people can find it, let me know. If not, I'll find the link and post it under here a bit later on. So whether you're watching this live on the replay. And as always, of course, do share this with somebody, because you never know what is going on for someone. You know, I think about this actual story that I'm telling. I was going through such a stressful time. I was spinning so many plates in the air. And although I was really stressed out, a lot of people wouldn't have known how stressed out I was. So if at the time somebody had shared a Facebook Live, which wasn't even invented back at that time, but if someone had shared a Facebook Live then just watching something like this could have been really helpful for me. So for those of you that do share these, I thank you, and do keep sharing on your timeline, in a private message, or any groups that you've got. I'd be very grateful to you. So Ivona's giving you props, Julia. Anyway, so I'm going to go back to the story. So I'm sitting there with a knot in my stomach. I'm waiting to see if I'm going to get onto the Hay House Radio to be able to ask Wayne Dyer a question. Given that, through this kind of turmoil in the last few days, and specifically that day, I'd said to myself, if I could speak to anybody about this, who would it be? It would be Wayne Dyer. And I've got to the moment where they've said, and next we've got Jenny from London. I've gasped, and then I'm on. And I asked him my question. Now my question, I framed it, because for those of you that know me, I am, and probably through time of working with coaches and mentors, I can give you the whole story, I can give you the whole background, I can give you the whole situation. But I've become very aware, especially as a trainer myself and when I'm facilitating, when someone gives you the whole story and you know a question's coming, you don't really know which part of the story you're listening out for. And you can become really bombarded with information. So one of the things that I've always taught, whether it's live or in any kind of scenario, I've always said to people, can you start off with the question first and then fill me in on the scenario? Because then I know which bits of the story I'm listening out for. So I went straight into my question, and or I tried to go straight into my question. And Wayne Dyer, such a gorgeous soul, and very, very interested in people and lives, and very different outlook on life. And he said, oh gosh, it must be late there, and all of that kind of stuff. And then I went into my question, which was something like, how do you know when you've found your life purpose? Like, how do you know? What do you look out for? What would you do? And this was slightly related to the situation that I was in that I was questioning myself. I was in such a stressful place. I was questioning myself. I was questioning everything I knew about myself. I'd gone through a big, personal life change, and I just didn't feel like I was sure of myself anymore. And, we always do know what's great for us. We feel it. It feels great or it doesn't feel great. But somehow in this kind of spinning plates, I just questioned everything. I thought, am I doing the thing that I'm supposed to be doing? Am I living on purpose? And I asked him this question. And it was quite a surreal moment, because as I listened, I silently listened, and I had tears rolling down my face. And I got some of his answer. I tried to stay as present as I could. And Wayne basically had said, think of the thing that you have always done. Even from a small child, you likely would have had this element of something in your life. It's not something that we go digging for. And life purpose often, or just a purpose in general, people often think it's something that you have to dig for really deeply and contrive it and shape it and mould it. And especially for those of us who are business owners, people like Alison who are authors, people who want to make a big difference in the world, sometimes we put ourselves under undue pressure. This is what I've noticed when I've been working with clients, private clients. We put ourselves under some undue pressure to find what we think is the perfectly formed, perfectly presented, perfectly articulated life purpose. And actually, it's always with us. We just kind of need to relax a bit and notice our own lives and embrace it. So Wayne's response was something like, just to notice the things that you've always done, that have always brought you joy, to take the making it into a business or the money side out of it, not because it's a good thing or a bad thing, but just because it can sometimes cloud where we're looking. And he gave me some fantastic advice. And I remember one of the examples he used, he said, if you like reading to people, and there's a lady down your street who's on her own, might be a bit older and just needs some company and wants to be read to, go and read to her. Start doing the thing that you feel called to do, not trying to sculpt it into something. And, it was such great advice. And there's one thing, and I'm so pleased that I have always lived this philosophy, in that quite often people will give you a compliment, and we're not always that great at receiving compliments, but whenever I meet somebody, if there's something about them that I love, I will tell them, oh my gosh, this is so great that you've done that. And in the past, this has unnerved people. They've sometimes presumed that there's been some sort of ulterior motive, like, what are you after? Or, I don't know you very well. If someone looks great, they sound great, they've said something that's really touching, I will tell them. And the reason I will tell them is just from a young age, I'd known a couple of friends that had passed and things, and I've always wanted people to know while they're alive, what's the point in standing at someone's funeral and talking about how great they were when they don't get to hear it? So at that point, I think Wayne had made a comment about it being really late at night, which it wasn't. I think it was like 10 o'clock, nearly 10 o'clock. And he said, thank you so much for calling in and staying up and it being late at night. And I said, thank you, Wayne, you're worth it. And I meant it. So that was one of my really nice memories of Wayne Dyer. But just before we went, he said, have you read my then new book? I Can See Clearly Now. And I said, you know what, I haven't. He said to the producer, it's out in England now, isn't it? And she said, yes. And I thought, great, I'll go and buy it. I'll definitely go and get a copy of that. With that, he said, no need, I'll send you a copy. And just a few short weeks later, my copy arrived, hardback copy. It's a phenomenal book. You can see, I've put some little kind of like notes in there, post-its and stickies. It's autobiographical. I can't even speak. Autobiographic. And I think I nearly made up a new word there. Autobiographic, and this is why I was trying to flip around the screen so you could see it properly. But this book is absolutely phenomenal. Filled with very short chapters. I think there's 45 different stories about Wayne's life. But here's what I would love to pass on for you in this week of reflection of not just my last year, but my own life, is that Wayne's way of thinking about things was very different. The start of his life, some people would have thought of it as a very pressured start. They would have thought of it as I'm no good and, my life is going to be hard. But he always felt that there was something different about the way he viewed things. He talks about this in this book with how children got upset about things at class and why he didn't, how people took various scenarios and why he thought differently. And one of the things that he spoke about in one of these chapters and one of these stories was about like finding your inner sanctuary. And I'm kind of paraphrasing because I've heard Ilyana Van Sant, another Hay House author, good friends with Oprah, if you're thinking who's that, I heard her once speak about finding your inner altar. So no matter what kind of week you're having, whether it's great, whether it's just full and busy, whether it's feels, maybe you're going through something slightly overwhelming, there's always a place within you that nobody else gets to see, nobody else gets to touch, nobody else gets to like go into or enter or in a way kind of mess up. It's your own sacred space. And one of the things that I found so helpful from speaking to Wayne Dyer that day was knowing that and knowing that people need permission to go into your space. This is not about protection. This is not about being fearful of somebody coming to do something to you or at you. It's about being in that space. So I'd encourage you, like as soon as we hit finish on this, which is going to be in a moment after I've read the comments, is just to find that space within you. And if you're having a really good week, a really exciting week, even better, because I feel pretty sure you'll find that space quite quickly. It's a space where if you ever feel overwhelmed, stressed, under the cosh or pressured in some way, it's the space to go to. Because when you do great things, when you're in flow, when you're in that zone, that's normally the space of where that comes from. It's like the realest, purest version of you that comes out. So I know that many of you that watch this do have your own businesses. I know that quite a few of you that watch this are authors. I know that a lot of you provide services for other people. So your propensity is to give. It's to give and give and give. And just, you know, I just want you to know that there are other ways in which you can replenish yourself and fill your own cup. And it's one of the most motivational things that you can do for yourself. You don't need anyone else to do it to you or for you. So I really hope that you found that helpful. If anything that I've said resonates with you or resonated with you, I'd love to hear how. You can either type a comment in the box below, whether you're watching this now or live, or whether you're watching back on the replay. And if you want somewhere a little bit more private to talk, then there's always the Visibility Vibes Tribe group, so you can click in there. So a couple more things I want to quickly say, like an announcement before I read these comments, is that it's also Alan's birthday this week. It's an announcement in itself. The other thing that I did want to say is that I'm actually holding a live event on the 17th of July, which is a Wednesday in London. Now, unlike the last few events I've run in the last few years, this is not a big kind of, 30, 50, 100 person event. This event is actually going to be very small and intimate. It's the Ultimate Visibility Bootcamp, and it's a way for you to get clarity around your messaging, clarity around your visibility plan, and real take strides in moving forward. So it's only going to be for 12 people. And I've got the details are actually pinned to the top of this page. Please do take a look. And if you know other people that this could be beneficial for, I'd love you to share it with them. Obviously, I'd love to work with you and see you that day in the room. And it's going to be like the closest way that, if you've never worked with me up close and personal, or even if you have, it'll be the closest way that we can spend a day to work together, just 12 of you in the room, pull our sleeves up and go through the visibility vibe system and start to plug in what you do and how you show up. So whether it is more sales of your online services, more sales of your offline services, people forget about that. Whether you're a speaker and you're looking to leverage the visibility on there, maybe you're looking for bigger opportunities. You know, you've got to remember that I'm a visibility specialist, not a PR agent. Yeah, I've secured media engagements in the last 18 months now, as well as the stuff that I do online. But there's a lot of leverage that gives me offline, a lot of opportunities that it gives me within corporates, a lot of opportunities that it gives me within associations, a lot of paid opportunities that no one sees online. So whether it's online or offline, I would love you to be part of the Ultimate Visibility Bootcamp. Details are at the top. And the reason that I'm reminding you now is because there are some early bird seats, and there are only 2 of those early bird seats left. Of course, this day is totally worth the full ticket price. However, if you like a bargain and you want to get in quickly and join some of the phenomenal people who have already put their hand up and said, I'm in, then I'd get you to click on that link or share this with somebody else. So I want to go back and read the comments. So I mentioned Alison Porter, who is a Hay House author, and her book is It's Stronger Than Before. I should know this because I've actually bought a few copies and sent to various people I know have been going through this journey. So her book is Stronger Than Before, Take Charge of Your Healing and Survive and Thrive with Breast Cancer. So have a look at that. I know that I've bought copies for people through Amazon, so have a look through there. If not, a little visibility tip for you, click on Alison's name and you should get her profile, which you'll be able to see, even if you're not friends with her, you'll be able to see her public page, so her business page, where you'll be able, I'm sure, to get details of where you can get that book from. Or any good search engine near you, you'll be able to find it. So, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your comments and thank you for your love. And I look forward to speaking to you. Some of you again, it'll be next Monday, and others I'll get to speak to you in the week in the Visibility Vibes Tribe. And for those of you that are in my inner circle or discovering your video visibility, I look forward to watching your videos and hopefully meeting some of you on Wednesday the 17th of July live in London while this space is still available. Kudos to Wayne Dyer, who has now passed, but you know what? His 41 books that he wrote, Alan's not too far behind him, I don't think, with the number of books that Alan's written. His legacy lives on. So thank you so much. So I look forward to speaking to you soon, hoping that this has motivated your Monday in some way. Bye for now.